Crasher, for those who, again, on the peripheral that don't know what this controversy is, if you could, in 30 seconds, tell the Freak Nation what happened earlier this week. All right, I'll give you 45 seconds.
Okay, thank you.
And why we're talking about a controversy with the winner of today's IndyCar race in Alabama and his teammate, Josef Newgarden, and their boss, Roger Penske.
First of all, Roger Penske owns the IndyCar series. He also owns the Team Pensky in IndyCar with drivers Scott McLaughlin, Josef Newgarden, and Will Power. Last weekend was the Long Beach Grand Prix. During warm-up on race morning at the Long Beach Grand Prix, race control turned off something called push to pass, which is 180 seconds that every driver gets in every road course race in order to assist them in passing drivers, especially when in dirty air traffic. The push to pass has been a godsend, to be honest. They had it turned off because there was something going on. I don't exactly know what that was. Yet they discovered that the three Penske drivers still had access to it. That led into an investigation and a deep dive into the software. And it turns out the Penske drivers had overridden the software code in the push to pass system. I'm not going to get into the CLU, EDU, whatever, in the system. And they had been using push to pass when it was not legal in the season opener in St. Pete. And then again, of course, in Long Beach. So they were stripped once they were able, IndyCar was able to prove that this was used when it was not supposed to be in the St. Pete opening race. Race winner Josef Newgarden was stripped of his win and vacated all points, as well as Scott McLaughlin stripped of his podium and all points vacated because of this penalty. And then it became an absolute controversy, as you would imagine, on regular media, social media, all sorts of sports shows were talking about this. Your winning driver was stripped of a win. Hasn't happened. Well, I've heard somebody say hasn't happened at all in IndyCar. Others say it dates back to 1995. So it was a controversy. It was cheating. Bottom line.
And excuse me, teammates Will Power, Josef Newgarden. Josef Newgarden got the biggest pop in this
because he was the race winner.
Will Power and other teammates, Scott McLaughlin, took some hits as well. Roger Penske, of course, he owns the team, but Josef Newgarden was silent until Friday and his press conference. And here's part of that press conference talking about he's not a liar.
I knew if getting to this part was going to be difficult for me. You guys can call me every name in the book. You can call me incompetent. You can call me an idiot. Call me stupid, whatever you want to call me. But I'm not a liar. And the story that I know, which is the truth, is almost too convenient to be believable. And so, to answer your question, no, I didn't leave St. Pete thinking we pulled something over on somebody. I didn't know that we did something wrong until this week. And then I've had to wrestle with the fact that, how do you explain a situation to people? I know what happened. I know why it happened, and I don't think it's very believable. Even when I try and tell the story back, I don't think any of us believe it'll be believable to somebody. But it's the truth.
It's the truth, he says. It's unbelievable, but it's the truth. He pre-race today made a big deal of how Josef Newgarden, we have another clip, we might play it again in the next hour, we don't have time now, but how he and his team firmly believed that there was a rule change that allowed them to be able to have this additional push to pass during restarts. Pre-race today for the IndyCar race went into that a lot, and fellow drivers said, no, we never, on our team and me as another driver, we never had that understanding. That's on them. That's on the 2-car. So we are not even close to being done with this yet. Did the 2-car team really believe that there was a rule change and that's their excuse for going through with this and trying not to say that they cheated? Or is that just another made up lie? But Josef just said right there, don't call me a liar. You can call me anything, but not a liar. I'm not a liar. Mm-hmm. Somebody's lying here.
Well, when you have 4 or 5 drivers who put their name to their comments, Colton Herta, Alex Palou basically called him BS on this.
Colton Herta specifically saying he's a disgrace.
Even his teammate, Scott McLaughlin, before this win, you could tell was not real happy with the way Josef Newgarden and his team has handled that.
Yeah, Scott McLaughlin specifically said that's on the 2 team. We didn't believe that.
Yep.
So make of that what you will.
Coming up next, Statman Scat on Roger Penske, and it might just be time for Roger Penske to get out of the ownership business of the IndyCar series, and more from Josef Newgarden coming up. SpeedFreaks Pits and the Lucas Oil Studio.
Let me start by saying I don't know Roger Penske personally. I've had maybe 3 or 4 conversations with him through the years, maybe one without a microphone. But looking at a brilliant billionaire businessman from a distance, I've come to the conclusion he isn't the man to lead IndyCar out of the wilderness. Primarily, his money might find the path to Oz, but it won't pave it with yellow bricks. That's even though he comes from a generation that thinks money is the answer to everything that ails anything, even IndyCar. And next, the people he siloed himself with don't appear to be people capable of thinking outside the box IndyCar is in. They're just as buttoned down as Roger, looking for investors to bring money into a situation that money won't fix. IndyCar needs new markets and audiences it can sell to advertisers. If money was the answer, Kart and Champ Car would still be in business. The push-to-pass drama from this weekend is a distraction. Leadership is IndyCar's problem. Roger's money might have saved the series, but Roger's money won't lead it to the mountaintop. It hurts to say this, but these specific rich old white men don't appear to know the GPS directions nor the Google instructions to find the answers. If they do, they better speak up quick. At the moment, our audience is larger than theirs. Peace.
Your Statman Scat brought to you by our good friends at General Tire. Go to generaltire.com and check out a line of tires to keep all of your rides on the road smooth and on the road. It's going to start to heat up here pretty soon. Make sure you got a new set of GTs on that bad boy. And now for maybe 2 days, you can get up to $70 back with a Visa prepaid card when you buy 4 qualifying tires from General Tire. For more information, go to generaltire.com. More on the Statman Scat. When I was doing the research on Roger Penske earlier this week surrounding this controversy, the first thing that struck me was his age. Roger Penske, when we first had him in the Freak Nation, was about, 63. And now he's 87 years old. And that just struck me. I don't need to get into politics. I'm not, but we talk about politicians all the time when they just need to get the hell out of politics and let younger folks run the business at hand, because we tend to believe that they're more apt to adjust to where we are from a contemporary standpoint. And given what you've heard on this show for many, many months, have been issues inside the walls of IndyCar.
Years.
Okay, promoting IndyCar. The chassis. We could spend many hours discussing the issues that we and many people have. People inside the walls of IndyCar have problem with IndyCar.
Mm-hmm.
And it's strong words from all of us, or from me personally, to say, yep, Roger, use your influence where it's best served. And right now, where it's being served, I don't think it's best. Listen, Statman is the biggest pimp for Mark Donohue and his days back in the race car that Roger Penske owned. And you heard Statman say, it pains him to say, yeah, it's basically time for Roger to get the hell out of here. So we're not piling on Roger. We're just telling you, if the emperor has no clothes, that elephant in the room just sitting there. We're the biggest when it comes to IndyCar. We're fans of this series. This millennial over here he's one of the strongest IndyCar fans that we got on the show.
10 out of 10 racing.
Yes.
It's without question the best racing product in the world. But marketing wise, executive leadership wise, massively lacking. And it's been that way for years. And we've been pulling our hair out. We've been screaming it on the show that leadership needs to change. Better people that understand this kind of business. Clearly, Roger Penske understands business. He's been ginormously successful with so many companies. But when it comes to running a sports series, you don't just give away tickets like you used to with your Marlboro friends. No, this is not how it happens anymore. You've got to run things drastically differently than you have in the past, and you don't have the right people in line right now to do that for you. I'm sorry, I don't believe Mark Miles is the guy either. I'm tired. Mark Miles, when he was hired on, gosh, it was right after the Randy Bernard era, said, we will have, I'm paraphrasing here, but something along the lines of, I will have the absolute best PR department working for this series. Haven't seen that yet. I will have the absolute best marketing campaigns. Haven't seen that yet either. We need to see that. We're dying for it. Your fan base is salivating. They know the product that you have. You're not getting it out to the masses so that you can, in turn, make more money moving forward for the series, and everybody can get paid more.
Statman?
Wow. Well, let me say, first of all, that I don't think that he needs to be out of the series. I think somebody needs to be in the series that can do the things that Crash was just talking about. Roger has acquired tickets and given away tickets, like Crash just said, in the hundreds of thousands per race to help him sell product. But the chances that he's had at Michigan International Speedway that he built and owned for a while, it's now owned by NASCAR, and Fontana, California Speedway in Fontana, that he built and is now owned by NASCAR, I believe. They didn't have a lot of success in selling tickets. That's why they got out of the business. There's 1 in 10 Americans live within 4-hour drive of that racetrack, and they didn't reach them. They sold maybe 100,000 tickets in 2 races a year. That's not success. Somebody is saying, I don't want that, and that shouldn't be the case if you are a motorsports fan. That I could go on here.
Yeah.
But one of his fortunes, he doesn't owe his fortune. That's what I want to say. He doesn't owe his fortune to saving IndyCar. IndyCar at some point needs to stand up on its own. Now, if he can make the decisions to help that along, more power to him. But the billions that he owns and goes through his hands don't need to be in the checking account for IndyCar and saving IndyCar. If IndyCar can't save itself, and that includes the drivers and the team owners, they can't just look at him and say, save us, Roger. They've got to go out there, find new markets, and find new audiences in order to salvage the thing.
Which is why people like Michael Andretti and Zach Brown with Arrow McLaren they've had it, and they are being more vocal, at least this year, than they have been in the past, because they are interested in saving the sport.
We're not, and I'm glad you brought that up, Crasher. We're echoing what others are saying in the business, and not just executives. We're talking about team owners that work with Roger Penske on a daily basis. These guys are saying things similar, and I'm sure even more harsh than what we're saying behind closed doors. Michael Andretti, no, he'll drop the bombs out there. But when we hear from drivers who will remain nameless because we don't want to call them out, that call out the series to us, someone's got to be a sounding board. And we're not walking on eggshells here, because we don't owe IndyCar anything from our standpoint other than honesty. And as fans of the series, as fans of the drivers, fans of the on-track racing, we don't like it. We don't like the marketing of this freaking series. Crasher listen, there was a word that we had that was tagged on to Crasher, the IndyCar so-and-so that we used back in the day that we could use on the air.
It rhymes with which.
Yeah.
And I am the IndyCar B. I'll just say it's the B word. I have grown up in the backyard of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. There's no place I would rather be on almost any given weekend. Many people want to spend their holidays on a beach somewhere. I want to on Memorial Day weekend. If I am not at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, I'm probably dead. I love that place. I love IndyCar. So yes, it pains me to see what's been going on for almost the entire existence of this show. I mean, watching the series split into CART and the IRL in the mid-90s, I was just dumbfounded, and it has yet to get back there. That we've seen signs of the sport getting a little bit better. The Indy 500 is always so much fun and exciting, but the momentum doesn't carry for the rest of the year, and it pains me to see that every single year, because I know the potential. I know that it's so much better than what it's getting in actual fan engagement.
Coming up, you got Crash Gladys pit news and notes, and we will hear more from Josef Newgarden, gentleman who had his win vacated from the St. Pete race to kick off the season. And we'll actually hear from fans and their take on what happened over the last 4 or 5 days between Roger Penske and his drivers.